Good day to everyone. Welcome to Juvo Hub. Juvo Hub is your helping hand in the property management industry, a true hub for all training and HR professionals in the property management industry. So thank you for being here today. Today's video, we're going to discuss the gap between in-person and virtual training. Big topic right now for any industry speaker, anybody who's a training director right now, trying to bring your vitality, your energy, your essence from a stage and to put it into a small 27-inch monitor. Not an easy challenge to overcome, but it can be done. Takes a little bit of extra technical thinking, extra technical production, and some pre-planning, and you can have some success. So here's just a couple of tips that I want to share. Number one, you may need to ditch the PowerPoint. And I don't mean totally ditch the PowerPoint, because I get it. All of us as speakers, we like to have some sort of notes. But because of the way most web conferencing systems work, what happens is when you're presenting your PowerPoint, you become this little teeny tiny box, and the PowerPoint overtakes the presentation. So here's a couple of options. One, you can possibly send your PowerPoint and have the viewers view it on a different device. So for instance, Google Slides, if you send a link out to those who are participating, you can make it a temporary access to it with Google Slides. That way they can't download it. And once the presentation's over, you can revoke access to it. But it's nice if you want to be able to have visuals, you can use that as a tool. What it takes for you as a presenter is to just kind of change up what your typical style is when you go from one slide to a next. Now we're used to maybe having that clicker in our hands. It doesn't take much, but you have to identify maybe on your slides that you're on slide 1, slide 2 for what the viewers are watching. And then you have to be able to give that vocal cue. So you don't have to be so robotic about it. Okay, now let's move to slide 2. But there's nice ways that you can make a transition saying, well, now on slide 2, notice what this statistic says about this. And that way you've got an easy connection between one slide to another. So it just takes a little bit more preparation on your part. And most people do have 2 devices. So typically people are watching your presentation maybe as a group. Maybe they're watching it on their desktop. So it's not a big stretch to say, take out your phones, take out your iPads or your tablets and click on this link, and you'll be able to follow along with some of the visual cues. But the attention is on me. I'm your teacher, I'm your instructor today. So this is what I'm bringing to the table. So the idea here is you don't want to have an atmosphere where you're not part of the presentation, especially as this trend continues to grow, where more companies will be utilizing virtual options for having training sessions. It may be time to pivot a little bit. And especially when we start thinking of what could happen to keynote presentations and things along that line, we have to kind of change up our style to kind of accommodate where our learners are going to be and in that new digital environment. Another tip is when you're talking to whoever is organizing your event, look and see what options are there for a meeting versus a webinar. And again, this goes to like, what is your overall goals with that particular group? If you're teaching a smaller group, as an example, within Zoom, the meeting option is a much better option because that allows for a lot more interaction, a lot more participation. People can raise and lower their hands, and it's a lot easier to do that. Versus a webinar. A webinar is typically, there's a chat box and people can ask questions. but you can't usually get live feedback within a webinar setting. And again, you have to look at what system that you may be using. I'm referencing Zoom because that's what I use a lot. So give that some thought and what's being deployed for your particular session. And even if it is a large group of participants, what I like about the meeting function is, as a trainer, you can still use things like breakout rooms and send people off to a certain room, let them do an exercise together like you would do in a normal in-person environment. We do that often. All right, let's take a break, turn to your partner and do this exercise. So you can do that with Zoom with the breakout room function. I think that's a very, very cool feature. I've used it already, and it works wonderfully. So there's just a couple of tips for you today. How do we bridge the gap from being that in-person trainer, the in-person speaker, and now having to use some more virtual tools, but we still want to bring that same gain, that same impact. So I hope you appreciated these tips. Hit that like button, thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you for being here today.